Welcome to this session. So, in the last class what we are looking into, the solution of 4-dimensional problem, 3 dimension in space and 1 dimension in time, and we are looking into the boundary conditions, a Neumann boundary condition at x equal to 0 and at z equal to 0. Rest 4 boundaries they were remaining at the Dirichlet boundary conditions. So, now we solved the problem to the halfway. We have completely solved the x varying part, and we have seen the eigenvalues were basically the 2n minus 1 pi by 2, and eigenfunctions were the cosine functions. Now we came up to the y varying part, and we have formulated the governing equation of the y varying part with the boundary conditions. So, we know the solution of this, the eigenvalues of this problem are beta m is equal to m pi, because we have all homogeneous boundary conditions in all the 3 directions. We can construct the standard eigenvalue problem which are independent to each other in all directions. So, therefore, we will be writing 3 subscripts corresponding to 3 directions x, y and z. So, corresponding eigenfunctions are sine function. So, y m is equal to C2 sin m pi y. Now, let us look into the, so that gives the complete solution of the y varying part, and let us look into the z varying part. So, that will be coming from there. So, this is the governing equation of z varying part, minus lambda square plus alpha square minus 1 over z d square z dz square is equal to minus beta square. So, therefore, 1 over z d square z d z square will be nothing but minus lambda square plus alpha square plus beta square. Alpha square you have seen 2n minus 1 pi by 2, and beta square you have seen m square pi square. So, therefore, this constant has to be a negative constant. So, minus gamma square in order to have a non-trivial solution of z. Now, let us formulate the eigenvalue the governing equation of z varying part. So, it will be d square z d z square plus gamma square z will be equal to 0, and the boundary conditions of the z varying part must satisfying the boundary condition of the original problem. At z equal to 0, we have dz equal to 0, because in the original problem we had the Neumann boundary condition prevailing at z equal to 0, and at z equal to 1 we had z equal to 0. Okay. So, again we know the solution of this problem. The solution is that the eigenvalues are 2n minus 1 pi by 2. In fact, this will be 2 p minus 1 pi by 2. Eigenvalues basically gamma p is equal to 2 p minus 1 pi by 2, where index p runs from 1 to up to infinity, and eigenfunctions will be z p is equal to C4 cosine gamma p z. Okay. So, the complete solution we are now able to get the complete solution. Before that, we have to get the time varying part. So, let us look into the time varying part. What is lambda square? Lambda square will be nothing but now alpha square plus beta square plus gamma square. Now, let us put the subscript. So, this will be lambda m n p square is equal to alpha n square plus beta m square plus gamma p square. So, lambda m n p square, alpha n was 2n minus 1 pi by 2 square of that, beta m is m pi. So, m square pi square, this will be 2 p minus 1 pi by 2 square of that. So, this will be 2n minus 1 square by 4 plus m square plus 2 p minus 1 square by 4 whole thing multiplied by pi square. So, this is the complete solution of lambda m n pi, and once we get this lambda m n pi into the time varying part, then we will be getting the solution of the time varying part 1 over t m n p dt m n p dt is equal to minus lambda m n p square times t. So, we will be getting t m n p is equal to let us say C5 exponential minus lambda m n p square of that times t. So, we will be able to construct the complete solution now, and the complete solution is u as a function of x, y, z and t will be is equal to triple summation 1 over m, another over n, another over p. All the constant will be multiplied, giving rise to a new constant C m n p cosine alpha n x sine m pi y and cosine gamma p z, where alpha n is nothing but 2n minus 1 pi by 2, gamma p is nothing but 2 p minus 1 pi by 2. Now, we will be getting the and multiplied by exponential the time varying part minus lambda m n p square times t. We will be evaluating the C m n p by using the unutilized initial condition t is equal to 0, u was equal to u naught. So, if you put it there, so you will be getting triple integral triple summation 1 over m n and another on p C m n p cosine alpha n x sine m pi y and cosine gamma p z. So, this constant C m n p now evaluated by exploiting the orthogonal property of the eigenfunctions, these sine functions and cosine functions, and as we have done earlier, we will be getting the solution of C m n p as u naught integral cosine alpha n x dx from 0 to 1 multiplied by 0 to 1 sine m pi y dy sine cosine gamma p z dz on the left hand side. In the right hand side, when you open up the summation series, all the terms will vanish because of the orthogonal property of the eigenfunctions. Only one term will survive, it will be C m n p cos square alpha n x dx from 0 to 1 sine square m pi y dy and 0 to 1 cos square gamma p z dz. And we have seen that all of these constants, all of these integrals will be nothing but assuming the value of half. So, if you do that, then you will be getting the u naught 1 this will be the sine alpha n x by alpha n from 0 to 1 sine 0 0. So, only one term will survive. So, and this will be 1 minus after integral we have done several times 1 minus cos m pi over m pi, and this will be sine gamma p divided by gamma p, and in the right hand side we had half into C m n p, half into half into half. So, C m n p will be nothing but 8 u 0 sine alpha n by alpha n multiplied by 1 minus cosine m pi over m pi sin gamma p over gamma p, where alpha n is nothing but 2n minus 1 pi by 2 and gamma p is nothing but 2p minus 1 pi by 2. So, that will be giving the expression of the constant, undetermined constant C m and p, that has to be inserted into the solution of u into this equation, and it will be giving you the complete solution. So, depending on the type of boundary conditions that are prevailing in the governing equation, one may land into the sine functions, cosine functions as the eigenfunctions, and various types of eigenvalues that we have come across, that whether it will be if the sine functions of the if the Dirichlet boundary conditions are prevailing on both the boundaries, then the eigenvalues will be n pi. If the one of the condition at x equal to 0 is prevailing, the Neumann is presented by the Neumann boundary condition, then 2n minus 1 pi by 2 are the eigenvalues and cosine functions are the eigenfunctions. And if a Robin mixed is presented at x is equal to 1 and at x equal to 0 it is a Dirichlet, then it will be a transcendental equation will arise involving the tan functions, the roots of these equations of the eigenvalues, and sine functions of the eigenfunctions. So, now if we can summarize this this problem, then we can write down that the nature of PD and summation appearing in solution, it will be a very interesting problem, that if it is a parabolic two-dimensional problem, then I will have one summation in my solution, because I have one independent eigenvalue problem in my system. If we are dealing with a three-dimensional problem, I will be having two summation in my solution, because I have a two independent eigenvalue problem. If I deal with four-dimensional problem, then there will be three summation appearing in my governing equation, because I will be dealing with three independent eigenvalue problem. Okay. So, now I will be considering one case before going into the elliptical partial differential equation. We know the three standard boundary conditions of first kind, second kind and third kind, that for example, if we take the second kind boundary condition at x is equal to 0, del u del x is equal to 0, at x is equal to 1, u is equal to 0. Now, in this particular problem, the boundary at x is equal to 0 is insulated, and we know the eigenvalues are cosine functions, and eigenvalues are 2n minus 1 pi by 2 and eigenfunctions of the cosine function. Now, if we reverse this boundary condition, that means the instead of insulation boundary at x is equal to 0, if it appears in x is equal to 1, then how my solution, how will be getting into the solution. So, once that is clear, then if we have in an actual problem, if we have the boundary conditions at different boundary, or it is reverse, then we will be able to tackle that problem as well. For example, I am looking into a two-dimensional problem, one dimension in space, one dimension in time, del square u del x square at t is equal to 0, let us say u is equal to u naught, and at x is equal to 0, u is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1, let us say the del u del x is equal to 0. That means a Neumann boundary condition is prevailing at x is equal to 1 instead of x is equal to 0. Now, what I will do next? I will have a transformation in the coordinate system. I will define x star is equal to 1 minus x. Now, if I define the x star, let us see del u. What is del u del x? Del u del x is equal to nothing but del u del x star del x star del x. So, this will be del x star del x will be minus 1. So, minus del u del x star and del square u del x star square will be nothing but so one more derivative. So, it will be minus del square u del x star square del x star del x. Del x star del x is again minus 1. So, it will become del square u. So, del x star square. So, I'll be getting my problem as fixed del u del t is equal to del square u del x star square at t is equal to 0, u is equal to 0, u is equal to u naught, at x equal to 1 means at x star is equal to 0, at x star is equal to 0, my del u del x star is equal to 0, and at x star is equal to 1, that means x is equal to 0 means x star is equal to 1, my u is equal to 0. So, now this is a problem that we have already solved in this class. Only thing is now the variable has been changed from x to x star, where x star is defined as 1 minus x. So, if you remember, we have already seen the solution of this problem. The solution is basically the eigenvalues are cosine 2n minus 1 pi by 2, the eigenvalues are 2n minus 1 pi by 2, and eigenfunctions are cosine functions in terms of x star. So, if you really look into this problem, now let us try to do a justice by completing the solution of this problem. So, u is equal to a function of time and function of space. So, it will be 1 over t dt dt is equal to 1 over x d square x dx star square, that will be equal to minus lambda square. So, let us write down the eigenvalue problem in the x star direction, dx star square plus lambda square x is equal to 0, subject to at x star is equal to 0, dx star is equal to 0 and x star is equal to 1, capital X is equal to 0. So, let us look into the solution. The solution will be the eigenvalues will be let us say lambda n is equal to 2n minus 1 pi by 2 and eigenfunctions x n is c1 cosine lambda n x star. And if you construct the complete solution, and at t n will be let us say c2 exponential minus lambda n square t, and the complete solution is u is equal to summation n is equal to 1 to infinity cn exponential minus lambda n square t cosine lambda n x star, and we can evaluate the constant cn by using the initial condition at t equal to 0. That means at t equal to 0 u is equal to u naught. Let us completely solve this problem. So, u naught is equal to summation cn exponential minus lambda n square times 0 cosine lambda n x star. So, this will be u naught C n cosine lambda n x star, and again we will be utilizing the orthogonal property of the cosine functions, eigenfunctions. So, it will be u 0 0 to 1 cosine lambda n x star is equal to C n cosine square lambda n x star dx star 0 to 1. So, only one term will survive if you open up the summation series utilizing the orthogonal property of the cosine functions or eigenfunctions. So, this will be sine lambda n divided by lambda n is equal to C n by 2, and we will be having C n is equal to 2 u naught sine lambda n divided by lambda n. So, the complete solution is u x star t will be summation of C n exponential minus lambda n square t cosine lambda n x star, where n is equal to 1 to infinity and lambda n is 2 n minus 1 pi by 2 and C n is 2 u 0 sine lambda n divided by lambda n. And now we get back into our original coordinate system, convert x star to x. So, therefore, u as a function of x and t will be nothing but summation C n exponential minus lambda n square t cosine lambda n 1 minus x. So, that will be giving you the complete solution. So, similarly, if we have the standard, the third kind of problem, if you remember that boundary condition at x is equal to 0 is Dirichlet and boundary condition at x is equal to 1 is Robin mixed, and if the boundary condition is now reversed, if the boundary condition at x equal to 0 is Robin mixed and it is Dirichlet at x equal to 1, then what we will be doing, we will be having a transformation of coordinate system by defining x star is equal to 1 minus x star, and then it will be recast in a standard form of second kind or third kind, and will be getting the solution in terms of standard solution in terms of the transformed coordinate system, and then we will be reverting back to our original coordinate system by writing x star is equal to 1 minus x. So, that will be giving the solution in those cases of particular problems. Now, we will be moving ahead with our solution for a for an ellipse. So, we have covered more or less all the different kinds of problem in parabolic partial differential equation, 1 dimensional, 2 dimensional, 3 dimensional and 4 dimensional problem, and then we have considered various types of boundary conditions, how they will be appearing and how they will be affecting the in the final form of the solution. And also we have seen that if the first, second kind or third kind of problems are the boundaries are in the reverse direction, then how to have a change of transformation of the axis and can recast them into the standard form in order to get the solution. Also we have seen that in an actual problem there may be the solution, the problem may not be a well posed problem, the problem may be an ill posed problem with lots of non-homogeneity in the boundary conditions as well as the initial condition. Then we have seen how to break down the problem into sub problems considering one non-homogeneity at a time, so that one out of the suppose there are 3 sources of non-homogeneity in a parabolic partial differential equation, then what we have done, we have broken down the problem into 3 sub problems considering one non-homogeneity at a time, and out of these 3 sub problems, one sub problem is well posed, which will be having a non-zero initial condition and homogeneous boundary conditions. Out of the 2 sub problems, it will be a homogeneous initial condition and boundary condition is non-homogeneous. Then we have to break down the problem into two subparts. So once again, one subpart will be time dependent, another subpart will be time independent. In the time, we will be formulating the governing equation of the time dependent part and time independent part, and judiciously attach the non-homogeneous boundary condition with the time independent part, so that we will be forcing the time dependent part to have a homogeneous boundary condition, and it will be become an ill-posed problem. So, we have seen how to convert an ill-posed problem into ill-posed problem, and the ill-posed problem we have the standard solution we have already seen. So, therefore, we have looked into the ill-posed problem for 4-dimensional, 3-dimensional as well as the 4-dimensional parabolic partial differential equation. Now, we will be moving ahead with the solution of the elliptical partial differential equation, which will be nothing but a steady state solution of a physical system, where there will be no time variation, and most of the engineering applications, they occur either in the steady state or in the transient problem. For example, if you are looking for a process engineering from point of view, if you are looking into any process process engineering system, where by inputting the initial parameters, let us say feed conditions, feed and you are prevailing the reaction conditions, etc., then you will be looking for a product stream, and then that product stream must be confirming some particular properties. If that property is within the desirable property, then your product can be marketable in the market, otherwise it will be a waste lot. So, therefore, one has to have a steady quality of the product in order to achieve that. One wants to run his plant under a steady state condition. So, therefore, transient is very, very important, as well as the steady state is very, very important. Transient gives you a startup or shutdown situation, where the system will be achieving a steady state, and this transient problems can be modeled by writing the parabolic partial differential equation. On the other hand, steady state is very, very important, because one must be having a steady solution in the steady solution. That means, one has to have a steady set of property within a tolerable range in the product. So, therefore, the steady state problems are also very important in any process engineering, and the steady state problems are modeled by time independent, writing down the time independent governing equation, and the time independent governing equation in more than one variable will lead to the elliptical partial differential equations. So, that is the importance of elliptical partial differential equations in the process engineering, which will be corresponding to the steady state of the system, and in the next class we will be looking into the solution of elliptical partial differential equation, and I will stop here and we will be taking up this problem in the next class. Thank you very much.